Today's dedication is for Terax, who gave me a very generous 1 year's worth of subscriptions on Patreon. Pantlaza versus Vren, Helga, and Damia. Now then, if we mulligan this, are we going to just not draw into any lands? We've got nothing but mana, but the benefit of a hand like this is that you can pretty much play anything you want from the mid-game onwards. I will mulligan because we might just top deck into lands for the foreseeable. That is better. We've got turn 3 ramp, which is better than none, so we'll keep. And we've got a stronger player over here. If you're playing Gemstone Caverns, that's likely the case. So Damia throws that down on turn 0. Exiles to it a Rotting Rats, which might suggest otherwise actually. Birds of Paradise for Helga. We draw into Kogla and Yadaro. Umezawa's Jitte played for Damia, who also has thrown out an Urborg. Faeboro Elder from Helga, ready to tap that down for Bamp mana as soon as the commander comes down next turn. Demonic Tutor for the Dimir deck. Just draw into another land, so still nothing to do on turn 2. We'll get out a tap land. Looks as though we're playing against Damia Voltron, so there's a Sword of War and Peace. Deciding to play the equipment out before he's got anything to equip it to, so he does open himself up to spot removal, and it's easy to know what he's looking to do. So players can hold up interaction if they get down a creature and any of our opponents are worried about protection from white and red, then we could always hold up removal for that. Like to try and play my equipment and equip them on the same turn personally. Anyway, our opponent's got down a Reliquary Tower and has done what we thought he was going to do. Helga on turn 3, meaning that he's got 4 mana available thanks to the Tree Folk. Faebor Elder, a 3-3, swings into the right. I wonder if the Dimir player went for Cabal Coffers because he saw the Urborg over there. Rhystic Study for Vren, I dare say, is what he tutored for instead. Still has 6 cards in hand. And he's going to draw a card from us because we have to ramp here, although there's a Mana Vault. So we could go for... still can't go for our commander. I think we're still going Topiary Stomper, and we can get out Kogla a bit quicker if needs be. Mox Diamond from Damia. Discards to the Mox, a high market, 1 card left in hand, but Damia wants to empty his hand so that he can get the commander into play and refill pretty quickly. So maybe has protection from 2 players spot removal. You would hope that the Dimir player would be able to do something about Damia. 3-3 back in towards the Dimir player, so it looks as though Damia's not being respected. Didn't play anything with that 4 mana he held up, by the way. The commander's still only at 1 power over here. And plays a Season of Gathering, so I'm guessing he's going to buff his commander with that. Pays the tax on Rhystic Study, but has the choice of giving a buff, drawing cards equal to the greatest power, or can destroy all artifacts or enchantments. Just went for enchantments, and then drew up to 7, I'm guessing. So again, left artifacts alone. I think I would have gone for artifacts there, personally, and really left Damia in the dust with regards to mana, and the actual tactics that the deck clearly has. Talisman of Dominance for Vren. Then plays another Mana Rock in Thought Vessel. So still haven't seen Vren yet. I'm guessing that he wants to play Vren and hold up interaction. You would assume there's plenty of spot removal in this deck, which might go onto our commander if we play it here. There's a Nature's Law, so we can drop a mountain. Then if we were to go Mana Vault into Nature's Law, we'd still be able to go for our commander, but is that a waste of Mana Vault? I think we're going to lose Pantlaza anyway, so maybe we could just pay the tax with this. Yeah, let's see what we get with our commander. Damia now holding up priority when he wasn't previously, so might be looking to counter our commander. He does not. So we managed to land Pantlaza and trigger the Discover, which allows us into a Smothering Tithe. Saw that in the opening game, but decided not to play it, so good that we see it here. That does count as casting, so our opponents could still counter it, but it lands. Can't attack yet with Topiary Stomper because we need to see 7 lands. Otherwise I would have been swinging in at Damia. And if Smothering Tithe can survive and Damia triggers, this does count as drawing cards still. So it will trigger the Smothering Tithe for a bunch of treasure tokens. But we'd rather just not see the Damia player actually draw cards. Looks as though he's paying the tax on Tithe, which suggests that he doesn't have anything to do here. I wonder why he bothered to play the Mox Diamond and discard a land if he's just going to struggle on mana. Might as well hold on to this. Anyway, Utopia Sprawl onto a land. He's got Tech Edge in play as well, so that's 2, 4, 5, 6 and 7 mana, which means he's got enough for his commander next turn. It'll have to survive a turn cycle though. And if our commander gets removal pointed at it, then I'm not necessarily against a Blasphemous Act, especially if Vren's in play. Yeah, wrapping up all 3 commanders in a Blasphemous Act would be good. Still only 1 power on the Helga. Tribute to the World Tree, gonna start buffing power when creatures enter. Small ones at least. And the 3/3 now going into the left. We get another treasure token from the Dimir player, which means next turn we can go Nature's Law and the Cogler. So hopefully our commander will survive, but we do see Vren hit play here, as we assumed we would, so with 2 mana held up, he's either trying to protect Vren, or he's going to use some spot removal. And, alright, that's a Felwar Stone. The same could still be said, but less of a chance with that, with only 2 mana. Okay, a Vivian, Champion of the Wilds, which could be good against the more controlled players. So maybe go for that and Curious Altasaur during the next turn cycle. Obviously, the more dinosaurs we get into and the more we can play on each of our opponent's turns, the more we can trigger Pantlaza in a turn cycle, because it only triggers once per turn. But as for now, let's go Nature's Law, I think. And after that, we'll cast the Cogler. Decided to get a tap land in here. Argument to be made for us going for an untapped land like a Tiger or something like that and holding on to 1 treasure. But I'm not entirely sure what exactly we're going to need to do over the next few turns, so I'll just take the tap land in while I can and not take as much life. Helga now holding up priority. Hopefully this doesn't get countered. Does decide to let it pass. We're up against 3 blue players, which isn't the best for us. So we can fight against something here. Damia has Death Touch, I think. Yeah, so I wouldn't have necessarily fought that anyway. I'll just put Pantlaza on the stack. Now we could deal 15 damage to someone here if we give haste. Yeah, against my better judgment, I think I'm going to leave Helga alone so that we don't make an enemy out of Helga, because there's still mana held up. Yeah, I'm going to give Trample and haste and hope that these 2 players leave us alone for now. See what we get with our commander. Looks at the creature's toughness. And there it is, another dinosaur in a hulking raptor. So with that mana we could throw down... Oh, it's the first main phase. Alright, well we'll get an additional bit of mana next turn at least. So down comes a 5/3. And I'll show my opponents who I'm looking at, because I don't think Damia's got too much hate yet. So knocking her down to 20. And is likely not going to want to pay the Smothering Tithe tax here. Probably just wants to try and hold up Damia. Although it depends on the card he just drew into, I suppose. Does decide to pay it, surprisingly, and taps down his Tech Edge as well. Plays Llanowar Mentor. Doesn't have a card to discard with that, so yeah, a bit of an odd deck our opponent's built. Equips the Sword of War and Peace to his creature, so now has protection from a couple of the big creatures that could swing in, and if we do decide to hit him with anything, then he'll get counters on the Jitte. Noteworthy that the creature can't be wiped out by the Blasphemous Act now either. Tendershoot Dryad's a really good one. And gets the first plus counter on Helga, draws a card, gains a life, and gives us more treasure mana. That will get some plus counters on it thanks to the tribute. So now we go over to Vren's turn, and it'd be interesting to see if he does point any spot removal anywhere. There's cards like Tendershoot Dryad you don't want to leave around for very long. You could leave our stuff alone until we swing it in at you. Helga you arguably could get rid of as well. Yeah, or you could just do that. A Kindred Dominance destroys everything apart from rats, or our opponent could name dinosaurs if he wanted to be nice. See if that gets any kind of interaction out of the Bant player's hand. Still 7 in hand over there. And using the Teferi's Protection early. And there's a Fierce Guardianship, yep. Well, they're using it on each other's stuff at least. So everything apart from the Vren getting wiped out. So we are going to be making use of Vivian after all, I think. 3/4 swings down the middle, and there's going to be a decent number of rats after the after the destruction there, so well, maybe we just have to use the Blasphemous Act now. This is playing into the Damia player's hand, but yeah, we get a land at least, so we can just drop a land straight away. Let's try Blasphemous Act, which should only cost 1 mana surely. Yeah, our opponent has 10, 11, 11 rats, which we don't want to be dealing with, and he just used his Fierce Guardianship. Problem is we are a creature-based deck as well, so I don't want to leave it another couple of turn cycles and just wait to use this thing. Now the Dimir player is thinking about something. I'm assuming if he had Force of Will or something like that in his hand, he'd just use it automatically here. Hopefully he doesn't just rope out on us. Yep, does decide to let the board wipe go through. So let's play Vivian, Champion of the Wilds. So with Vivian we can either just plus on it now for the sake of having more loyalty, or we can go for a bit of card advantage. I'll try and get a creature out of it. That's unlucky. We've got the choice of a Get Lost, a Worldly Tutor, or a Clifftop Retreat. I think we just have to put the land under that, don't we? But it's not really in here for the card advantage. We want to play creatures at flash speed if we can, so it's still in here for that at least. I think I'll get down the Mana Vault so that it's easier to go for the Curious Altasaur. Don't necessarily have to use it for that, but we'll try it here. So now during Damia's turn, before he draws, I'll go for the Pantlaza. And I have to assume that next turn we're going to be getting into a treasure so that that can pay for the green mana and the Curious Altasaur, along with the Mana Vault, of course. So it's the first time that this has entered this turn. We get to discover, equal to the toughness. And that is a Beast Within. So I think it just has to be the Sword of War and Peace, so that they can't get Damia through and they can't give it protection from swords and stuff. But they might have just drawn into counter magic for that, so that's the reason that I decided to go for it during the upkeep while they've got no cards in hand. Yeah, we have to be seeing Damia now, surely. Just got 2 board wipes out of our opponent's hands. So there's every chance that they get to draw up to 7 cards during their next draw step. Or is it upkeep? Yeah, it's during the upkeep they skip the draw step. Helga coming down again as well, so we might see 4 commanders in a row here. And Helga being buffed straight away thanks to that tribute. So let's try ourselves a Curious Altasaur here. Triggers our commander because it's the first time we've got a dinosaur down again. And then we've got Eerie Interlude. Yeah, we might as well just do it here. So that protects us from a board wipe at least if the Dimir player just so happened to wipe the board again. Which he might do if he had Toxic Deluge or something. Not likely that our opponent's going to swing anything in at us either, which would be something to consider if we were to get into Eerie Interlude. But because both our commander and the Curious Altasaur are coming in together, we'll choose which one. So we'll say yes to the Curious Altasaur Discover trigger, if it's easy to work out which is which on Magic Online. There is another 2-mana rock in Mind Stone, and we do see the 4 commanders in a row. So now Eerie Interlude will trigger, and we'll get both of our creatures back into play. Now then, Pantlaza, yeah, this one highlights the green creature, and this just highlights Pantlaza. So I'm guessing we say yes to the first one. Look at the top 5. And yeah, that's 5 cards. We get a Return of the Wild Speaker, which isn't the biggest amount of card draw, but it's better than nothing, especially when we've got no cards in hand. Not doing the best job of getting into creatures here, unfortunately. I haven't seen many the entire game. We've got 29 creatures in the deck, and there's an Earthshaker Dreadmaw. So we'll start taking our pings to the Mana Vault. Okay, and a Last March of the Ents would be good if we can stick the Earthshaker Dreadmaw. So let's just drop a Plains. I'll give a +1 to Vivian and give Vigilance to the Pantlaza because that can swing in towards Vren, simply because it's the only decent attack we can make. And then we'll draw cards equal to each other dinosaur, so only 2 dinosaurs, but maybe there's something that we can play at flash speed during our opponent's turns then. Or do we just want to do this at instant speed regardless, just in case Damia swings in? I think we just take a hit from Damia, don't we? Although if it's Voltron, is he going to get into something really big and scary that will make us wish we could block? Nah, let's swing in first. We'll hit with one of our Vigilance creatures and be able to draw a card to Curious Altasaur's ability. So swing both of these into the right because there's no decent blockers over there. Might be that we get to hit with both. I don't think he's going to block with his commander. Alright, that's probably best case scenario for us, so we get to draw 2 cards here. Alright, and I'm glad I held off now. That is a Vault-Born Tyrant and a Pugnacious Hammerskull. So, it's 7 for this. That would make it 10 and 12 with Sylvan Library. Probably getting another treasure token so that we could afford both of them. I think I'll get down Sylvan Library here. And let's go Vault-Born Tyrant. I can hold this up as a blocker if Damia wants to swing into us. Just hope they don't get protection from green. Then hopefully the Vault-Born Tyrant can stick in play. We're going to have plenty of mana with the Smothering Tithe, and Damia. So maybe we can refill our hand with Earthshaker. Yeah, I'm just hoping to keep 6 power or toughness in play with the last March of the Ents. Trying to think a turn or two ahead here. So I'll put Pantlaza on the stack first. Don't suppose it matters, we don't know what's on top of the deck anyway. Although we will do in future turns with the Sylvan Library. Don't mind seeing a Cavern of Souls against blue players, although we've still got the tech edge to think about. Say yes to Pantlaza. Shows us only one thing we can grab here, which is Itzquinth. Alright, so when Itzquinth enters, we can pay 2, and a target dinosaur we control deals damage equal to its power to another one. Alright, it's not fight here, so it is target creature. Yeah, target dinosaur, so I think we have to do this. So we'll target our Vaultborn Hydra versus their Damia. Alright, and that's nice. It means that we don't get the Smothering Tithe tokens, but I think we're doing alright here. We should still be able to get a Pugnacious Hammerskull. We also trigger the Vren, so that is another rat token thanks to killing Damia. See if he pays for the tax again. Looks like he's deciding to, so that might make a difference, although Helga is going to draw cards as well most likely. Just really trying to get this into play so that we can make some more draws. Loxodon Warhammer onto Damia would have been nasty. Played a Skyshroud Ranger as well, but there's no Death Touch in the way anymore and our opponent's not doing the best on mana. I'm grateful to have not seen any scoops yet, to be honest. Exemplar of Light, I forget this one, but I know it's really good. A 3/3 flyer. When you gain life, put a plus counter on it. It's going to draw a card into Smothering Tithe thanks to the enchantment. Whenever you put 1 or more plus counters on it, draw a card. Yeah, that's it. So it seems as though there's a plus counter sub-theme for obvious reasons. Helga, currently a 4/6, and there's 7 cards in our opponent's hand. So we can now afford the Hammerskull. Still got mana from the commander, but they don't seem to be using that. So we'll see what happens with Vren. Vren might draw another card as well. A Dark Ritual for Vren. Maybe it's just board wipe tribal, although we'll have to keep his commander in play for those. Alright, a Gravelighter. No creatures have died yet, so that's going to be an Edict effect. But Vivian's doing some work for us here. It makes hell of a difference in a creature deck if you can play your creatures at instant speed. So we'll put Pantlaza on the stack first. Again, I don't think it really matters. Gain life and draw a card to the Tyrant. Alright, and that is Regisaur Alpha. That's a good one. Say yes to Pantlaza. And there we see a Generous Gift. Let's see. I want to try and get removal out of our opponent's hand. Like, if they can buff Helga, then I'll wish that I went for Helga here, so I'll just blow it up now, and they'll sacrifice the token, that's fine. But at least I'm not making any one enemy at the table here, as much as I'm being a pain. Alright, making him do something now. So maybe he has Venser or something. No, that is Sister of Silence. When it enters, counter an instant or sorcery, activated or triggered ability. Wow, never seen that one somehow. Anyway, they'll draw a card here, so now we get the other treasure token. So they gain a life, get a plus counter on the Angel, and maybe they always would have gone for the Sister of Silence in order to counter the trigger on this, because you wouldn't have thought they'd want to sacrifice either of these creatures. Anyway, they draw to the Angel, draw to their commander, gives us 2 treasure. They get to draw a card with the Tribute to the World Tree as well, which means more mana for us. So now with Gravelighter, we'll get rid of the little legendary dinosaur. It was the Gravelighter that died over here, the Sister of Silence, and a token. Rapid hybridization onto our commander isn't the worst thing in the world, and we will put it back in the command zone. Managing to keep hold of our Vivian, thankfully. Alright, the Edict effects keep coming, although he's down to 1 card in hand. This is the problem with Vren. Nice of him to give us the Frog Lizard before he went for the Innocent Blood, because now we've got sack fodder. Did that in the wrong order, I think. The Exemplar gets exiled, the Skyshroud Ranger gets exiled as well. Funny that Helga has managed to survive all this interaction. Now the last card in hand is a Day's Undoing. Each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into the library and draws 7. Yeah, it would have been nice to get down the Alpha, but as long as we actually draw in some dinosaurs, this isn't the worst thing in the world either. This is draw, isn't it? Yeah, draws 7. So we're about to... Yeah, draws 7, so we do have Smothering Tithe in play, which means we're about to make 21 treasure tokens, giving Damia a full grip as well. Oh, or not. If it's your turn, end the turn. Oh, I see, so it takes all triggers off the stack, so this is the one wheel that dodges the Smothering Tithe, fair enough. Well, we've still got our Sylvan Library in play, and we've got 44 life, so we might as well draw some cards here as well. Didn't manage to get that Cavern of Souls into play though. And actually didn't draw into a land there either, funnily enough. Vren holding priority again during our draw step with 2 mana held up, so I don't know, maybe he's looking to destroy the Vaultborn or something. Yeah, I really hope Vren doesn't end up timing out on us here, it might cause a chain reaction. Damia stuck it out this long, but he's just got a full grip again at least. Alright, and now passage priority. We draw a land with the Sylvan Library. There's Rishkar's Expertise as well. I think we just keep all of them. So now we've got a land to drop this turn. I think I'll just fix my colours a bit with that. And with the Windswept Teeth I've been holding on to. So now we've got Pantlaza is 9 mana, but we've got access to a Mirari's Wake with 4 treasure, so I think I'll play that. Test the Vren player for some counter magic. No priority being held up by anyone at all is good. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 and 18 mana. As ever, Nature's Law with double mana pays for itself, so you might as well get a free land in. Then instead of hard casting the Nahiri's Resolve, we might as well go Rishkar's Expertise and get it into play for an additional mana. Let's go Great Henge. Again, pays for itself because it only costs 2 mana, thanks to the Anthem effect on the Vaultborn Hydrant, giving it 7 power. We will now go for the Pantlaza, which will trigger card draw a couple of times. So I'll put Pantlaza on the stack first. We don't know what's on top because we kept the Sylvan Library cards. So say yes to Pantlaza. Entering is a Scion of Calamity. So I think I definitely want to get that haste down now. I was debating whether or not to do it because we're going to have plenty of cards in hand as is. But I think we will cast the Rishkar's Expertise. Taking an age to cast this as well for some reason, so it looks as though the client is lagging on us. But finally hitting the stack. So we get some more card draw with the Henge and the Tyrant. See what we draw into. This might change our mind here. We could get into the Regisaur Alpha, or whatever it's called, that gives our dinosaurs haste. Oh, the Beanstalk isn't terrible either. Swords to Plowshares I like. But I think we go for the Rishkar's Expertise instead of paying 5 mana for this. And here we can at least, I've floated white mana because we were on an odd spell at some point, but we can hold up Ephemera and probably Swords to Plowshares during all this. Let's see, drew into Atali, back into the Earthshaker, got Rhythm of the Wild, Sawhorn Nemesis I've just added to the deck. Yeah, we're sticking with Nahiri's Resolve for haste, and a bit of Flicker. I have to go for Vivian. So, let's see, I think we're going to block, yeah, we're most likely going to block with this if we block at all, so I'll give that the Vigilance, and then we can do a bit of a trick of triggering this ability again and untapping it with the Ephemera if we want to. Let's see, is there anything else we want to get down? Because I think we're just going to be relying on Smothering Tithe mana. Yeah, I'm going to go for Swords to Plowshares onto this now, even though it's a bit hasty. Because that way we can hold up the maximum amount of mana. We could go for Get Lost if we wanted to. There's Ephemera as well, obviously, but we're hoping we'll have a Smothering Tithe treasure for that. So can we get rid of Damia? I think we might have to if we can. So if we swing that down the middle, that's 8 damage, swinging in at either player as well. 16 and 20 exactly going to the left. And then everything else can just go down the middle, and I'll try and leave Vren alone. Simply because he's got mana held up. So Myriad triggers on the Calamity. So 1 creature is made for the left and 1 for the right. And that triggers the Pantlaza and the Vaultborn Hydras. We don't get the choice of saying yes to our commander. We do gain more life and draw more cards from the Vaultborn Tyrant, though I have no idea why you gain life from this. I mean, I suppose there's cheaper effects that can trip like that, but you gain a hell of a lot of life from it over the course of a game. So there we've got the 7/6 tokens. Oh wow, have I miscalculated? I think I might have... this is the risk of doing exactly the right amount. I always like to overextend a little bit, and that's why, because I've miscalculated and left Damia at 1. Oh well, makes more of a game out of it. The Vren player decided to scoop anyway. We draw a bunch of cards to the Curious Allosaur, and our dinosaur's hitting. And we'll get to target some stuff as well. So we'll blow up the Tribute to the World tree. Also blow up... Do we go after mana? Yeah, I think I'll go after the Mox here. Yeah, I thought these were going to enter with 7 power, but they are 8 power. I didn't account for the plus counter on this thing, apparently. And we're going to have a hell of a discard session at the end of this. Flash Speed Awakening Sun's Avatar would be funny. Also drew into Warstorm Surge, which will make short work of our opponents. Bonehorde Dracosaur as well would be good. Anyway, see if we can discard with any kind of haste here. I don't think we have to worry about haste from our opponents. We've got a decent amount of life, so I think I'm just going to exile everything and have it come back into play. So we'll get rid of Great Henge, the Mana Vault, and all our creatures. Could leave Pantlaza in play to flicker it, but I mean we've got enough cards in hand, don't we? So let's just protect our board from a board wipe. Here is Resolve does a hell of a lot in this deck. Not going to put our commander back in the command zone. Discarded a bunch of mana, up the Beanstalk, the Goring Ceratops, not necessarily as good with the Sawhorn, although both of them in play would have been really good. Ephemera if we don't have creatures to flicker, and then gave up at the last second on Bonehorde Dracosaur at the end. We do see haste from our commander with the Lightning Greaves, but can he gain enough life with the Loxodon Warhammer to make that haste relevant? I don't think so. Hasn't done too well on mana. Okay, Trigon Predator could get rid of something of ours, but again, I don't think it really matters. Makes use of the Bloom Tender for 2 mana. Equips the Trigon, so we can't equip it now. Needs 3 mana for this. Alright, puts it... Yeah, moves the Lightning Greaves, so he wants to equip there. He'll gain 5 life and blow up something of ours, probably the Smothering Tithe. And I didn't... I was F6 through the turn here. What I could have done is gone for Get Lost, because our opponent this time didn't pay for the treasure. We could have just got rid of haste or blown up this creature in response to the Greaves going onto it, but I appreciate my opponent's playing this out, so don't feel too bad about letting them have it here. So they have to deal damage to us instead of the Vivian, and get rid of that thing. It's probably already done its damage, and this is why I kept hold of Rhythm of the Wild. They'll still have to worry about haste from us. And we've got Warstorm Surge anyway, although we can't get that in time to see the creatures come back into play. And we've still got Tithe available to us at least, and our double mana. The Bamp player pays into the Tithe, so we'll only get 1 treasure most likely. A Muldrifter for 5 mana, draws 2 cards, and he's eager for a blocker. Gets us more mana though. Now it's noteworthy that with Rhythm of the Wild you can't give haste to your stuff once it's already entered, which is relevant with Nahiri's Resolve, but I think we'll be fine anyway. A Fanatic of Ronas, and that will still only tap for 1 mana at the moment. So, do we go for the Sawhorn Nemesis now? Don't suppose there's any harm in doing it now. We only have to... Yeah, we can tap down 1 land, and a couple of treasure for that. And I'll point that at the Bamp player because he has more life. Probably just try and get a Warstorm Surge win off here. Is this combat damage? If a source would deal damage, yeah, so it does include your opponent's stuff as well. Let's see here, we'll put the draws on the stack first, because all our stuff still comes back in, even though Nahiri's Resolve was destroyed. Might be that our opponents had board wipes that they couldn't make use of there, which is why that enchantment's so good in certain scenarios. I'll say it again, I do appreciate my opponents playing this out for the most part. The 2 that are remaining have definitely stuck it out for us. And Vaultborn Tyrant continuing to gain us a silly amount of life. Alright, so which Pantlaza trigger are we saying yes to? Any 7-powered creature. Yeah, the first one we can say yes to. So that will show us an Intrepid Paleontologist. Not the best thing that we could have got, but it's still free. And it still draws us a card with the Great Henge. Into the Greater Good, speaking of drawing cards. Well, there's another haste enabler for us. Regisaur Alpha is probably the one to go for. We draw back into Last March of the Ents, back into Generous Gift. The Zakama really is just a big middle finger to our opponents at this point, I think. There's Eerie Interlude again, and we have untapped the Mana Vault now. Let's go for the Awakening Sun's avatar, and we might just have our opponent scoop to that, which would save some time. That will blow up the archaeologist or paleontologist, but don't think that matters. So that comes down. Oh, actually I should have got the Warstorm Surge on first. But we'll draw a couple of cards, blow up all the non-dinosaurs. Oh, we're actually doing this during the upkeep because we can play at flash speed. I didn't realise, so let's look at Sylvan Library cards. That is Enlightened Shooter, Return of the Wild Speaker, and Polani's Hatcher. We'll just keep it because we're at 59 life. Alright, so I'll get the Warstorm Surge down now, just in case our opponents can do anything. I wouldn't have thought they could do anything for free to deal with us here, but you never know. Should just be a case at this point of dropping the alpha and swinging in. Another thing we could do is make use of the Eerie Interlude and flicker everything into the Warstorm Surge, and that would certainly be enough. Draw more cards. We're down to 29 in the library at the moment. What is that? A 5/5 entering, so I'll just deal it over here. I don't think it really matters. That should be 10 damage dealt to that player. And then we'll get a 3/3 dinosaur into play as well. So that will be a further 6 damage over here, which should take him out without combat. Yeah, like I said, just added this to the deck and I think it's well worth an include. So Warstorm Surge is, oh actually, 4 damage. So that's doubled to 8. Forgot about the Anthem effect. So it goes from 8 down to -2, thanks to the 10 damage that's dealt to this, and I mustn't have stacked it correctly because it does end up with a plus counter. Let's play a land, and we'll just flex on our opponent and go for Zakama. Have to play something, so it might as well be the thing that untaps all our lands. Zakama will enter with a plus counter. We'll put Warstorm Surge on the stack first so that we get the plus counter first this time, because it will resolve first. Untap all the lands with Zakama, draw, gain life, all the general obnoxious stuff. So 11 damage straight to our opponent's face with the plus counter, and this is only on one player, which is why it's so cheap. But 11 damage enough to push it through there, so a huge thank you to my opponents for playing that out. Very, very rare, as you all know, that you'll actually get a full game of Commander nowadays on Magic Online. But when you do, the players who decide to stick it out deserve to be commended because it allows all of us to get these really awesome gameplay videos. So hopefully you did see it as an awesome gameplay video, because I'm jumping the gun a bit there, assuming you did. But I think that was a really fun one of Dinosaur Tribal and showing off Pantlaza. Just goes to show how good being able to play the dinosaurs at flash speed is. If you did enjoy it, then be sure to leave the video a thumbs up and consider donating on Patreon like a few of you do already. Massive thank you to those of you who keep the channel alive with the Patreon account. Be well, and hopefully I will see you all in the next one. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.